Okay. Okay, so we've started. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're very excited to have everyone. Today's session, this is an international group counseling session. This is the session number 1. There's another session tomorrow at 7 a.m. Los Angeles time. It's going to be the same session as right now today. You're welcome to join us. If you're not able to join us, that's totally okay, because the session is going to be recorded and tomorrow's session is going to be the same one as tonight. My name is Olivia Liu. I'm the Director of International Students at PCC. We're very, very excited and very honored to have you here join us. Today, this session is going to cover some important information regarding class registration for spring 2024. We have 2 international counselors here who will introduce themselves shortly. And also we'll cover a little bit about our registration system, how you select classes, some class recommendations of what you should be registering for based on our counselor's recommendation, and also a little information about transfer, just the basics of transfer. With that being said, there are some reminders that I have to provide to you today. If at any time you have a question, you can always use the message box to message me directly, or Amy or Stephanie, or to everyone if you're okay with everyone seeing your question. And also, we will all leave some time at the very end for any questions that you may have regarding preparing for your arrival. And also, another very important thing too is, if you have not already, you should have be following your new student checklist, and the new student checklist is located on the PCC website, and as well as in your welcome email and welcome letter. That gives you the next steps of what you need to follow. And also, very important, we have a community. It's called the UniBuddy community. You should have received an email invitation to join. It's just an online community for all our new spring incoming students to connect before they arrive. And we also provide some housing tips and information, visa information. So please join the community. If you need the link again, please message me and I can send you the link to join. With that being said, again, welcome. I'm going to pass it on to our amazing international counselors. I'll pass it on to Amy so she can introduce herself.
Good evening, everyone. Maybe morning and where you are. It's 7:07 p.m. California time. My name is Amy Chung. I'm your international student counselor. Welcome, everyone.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie. I'm also an international student counselor. We're very excited to see you and help you on your educational start at PCC. Before we get started into a presentation that we have prepared for you that has a lot of the good counseling material, how to register, what courses to choose from, can I just get a sense of who's in the room? Can you maybe in the chat tell me what country you're from?
New Zealand,
Awesome.
Serbia, China. We have a lot of students from Myanmar this time.
Yeah, Kazakhstan. A lot incoming from Myanmar, Philippines, Indonesia.
We have some China.
Very cool. Okay. Thanks, everyone. If you haven't got a chance, go ahead and put the country you're representing. Also, so that it helps Amy and I maybe discuss in a little bit, if you know your major or what you're interested in pursuing, could you also put that in the chat? Like if you're interested in computer science, or if you're interested in business, engineering. I also see a dental hygiene. So it's okay if you don't know global studies, film studies. If you're not sure what you'd like to study, you could put not sure, or exploring. Okay, so engineering and technology, IT or computer science, CIS, accounting, electrical and electronic engineering, accounting, okay, kind of like a broad mix, architecture, administration of justice. Awesome. Okay, thank you so much for participating. If you hadn't had a chance to input your country where you're representing and your interested major, go ahead and put that in the chat so that we have a sense of who's in the room. Right now, I am going to share a PowerPoint with you. So give me just one moment to do that.
While Stephanie does that, I was also curious what time it is in your country now. If you could put in the time, just so I have an idea whether it's daytime or midnight in your country.
Good question.
Noontime, 9:40 a.m. lunchtime. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Nice. Okay. Great. Okay, everyone. I'm going to jump into this portion of our presentation right now. It has a lot. It's very detailed. I'll be sharing and explaining kind of like how to be a PCC student, but also we'll have some videos to kind of explain that gives us a tutorial about like how to register. So just know that we will have an opportunity at the very, very end to answer your questions. We just might not see all the questions, as we're going through the PowerPoint. So just make sure to notify us at the very end when we have like this question and answer time. Okay. If you just came into the room, I think maybe 1 or 2 students just came in. Welcome to our International Student Group Counseling. We are about to go into our presentation portion. You haven't missed too much, but just in the chat, let us know what country you're from and what major you're thinking about pursuing or what career you're thinking about pursuing. With that being said, we'll get started. So for today's agenda, these are the things that we're going to go through. We'll give a brief introduction to our counselors. You have 2 in the room right now, but we have a few more that we want to introduce. The ESL, which stands for English Second Language, generally for students whose first language isn't English, English Second Language and or English courses and some math courses, how to transfer and or graduate from PCC, the list of classes to register and any course recommendations that would be good for you, and the actual process of registering and your actual registration dates. So we'll cover all of this in the next hour or so. So at the International Student Center, we have, let's see, about 6 counselors. Amy's already in the room. I'm Stephanie. And then we have Yuki, Rosa, Laura, and Kevin. So you can meet with any international student counselor. You are not assigned to one. Basically, whatever works for your schedule, whenever you want to meet with us, you can schedule yourself an appointment with any of us, and you could meet with different counselors if you want to, whatever works best for you. But we are here to help you, and as counselors, we specifically help you with courses that you need to be taking for your degree and or transfer. So we will go based off of what type of degree you want to get, what universities you want to transfer to. We make sure we go through all of the transfer requirements so that you are transfer eligible in the next couple of years. So anything that has to do with courses, transfer, I'm failing a class right now, how should I study for this class? We would be able to help answer those questions, okay? So we wanted to kick off this conversation or our presentation with understanding your F1 visa student requirements. So it is essential that you comply and follow these regulations, because if you do not follow these regulations, you are at risk of termination, meaning You didn't comply with the rules that the US government set out, and you will have to leave the country. So we obviously don't want that to happen to you. We want to support you. We want to help you to maintain a good standing, a good status. So every semester at PCC, a semester is considered a fall or a spring, and those are our 16-week sessions. You have to take minimum 12 units each semester. Our courses, if you've never been to college before, our courses are designated by units. The majority of the courses at PCC are 3 units, 3 to 4 units. Sometimes if it's a higher level math course, it could be 5 units. The amount of units just designates how much time you'll be spending in each class. So the higher the unit count, the higher the amount of hours you'll be spending per week. But a majority of our classes are 3 units. So if you break that up, if a majority of the classes are 3 units, you would probably be taking around 4 courses each semester. You can take up to 20 units. However, if this is your very first time in college, you've never had any college experience, staying within the 12 to 15 range is good. And let's say you do 15 in your first semester and you're like, that was so easy. You can work your way up to 18 or 20 the next semester. We just want to make sure that you have a good balance because it is your first time in America, understanding the US education system. So we just want to make sure that you're acclimating well because it's not only the school system that you're adjusting to, it's life in Pasadena. How do I navigate the public bus system? You know, there's just a lot of things that you're transitioning through. So we just want to make sure that you have a good balance. But 12 units is considered full-time. Now, here you'll see that there is a requirement for the amount of in-person units that you need to take. So at minimum, you need to take 9 units on campus / hybrid. We have different types of courses, and I'll get into the specifics in a little bit. But basically, we have fully in-person classes, hybrid classes that have an in-person component, and they're also online. So those classes need to comprise of 9 units. So if you think about that, like I said earlier, each class is maybe 3 to 4 units. That's about 3 classes that's in person. And then the remaining units to make up your 12, it can be online. However, your full 12 units can also just be fully in person, and that's okay. But the breakup minimums have to be 12 units total, 9 units in person / hybrid. And then the remaining can be online or in person, okay? And then this note about a Counseling 10 or a College 1 class in your first year. So a Counseling 1 or College 10 course, this is a very introductory PCC course that like welcomes you to the campus, teaches you how to do like basic research, PCC resources. So this is kind of like a welcome to college, an introductory course. So for students who are interested in the Pathways program, and we will get into the specifics about the Pathways program a little bit later, you have to take one of these courses in your first year. If you're in the Pathways program, you also will be receiving an earlier registration date. And that earlier registration date is about 1 or 2 days earlier than your peers who are not pursuing the Pathways program. So think about if you want to be part of this, because those requirements I'll talk about in a little bit, but the priority registration is a big perk because some of our classes fill up really quick, or maybe there's a specific professor that you'd like to take the course with, or a specific time. So that helps students if they have an earlier registration date. Okay, so in our academic calendar, we have 2 distinct sessions, a semester and an intersession, but it's broken up into 4 groups throughout the year. So you would be entering in this spring semester. That's February to June. This is a 16-week semester. This fall semester is also 16 weeks. Now, like I said, your mandatory F1 units need to happen, the 12 units need to happen in a main semester, so fall and spring. But in the winter and the summer intersession, this is not mandatory for F1 students. That means that you can take classes if you want, or you can stay in Pasadena, take a break, or you can go back to your home country and take an online class. So that's up to you, okay? And you could always talk to a counselor about scheduling your courses to see if it's a good idea for you to take summer or winter courses. But just keep in mind, summer and winter courses are 6, sometimes 8 weeks, depending on the summer specific course, but winter will be 6 weeks. So keep in mind that you won't be taking as many units as you would in a semester because it's a lot shorter, 6 weeks. So maybe you want to do 1 or 2 classes. So this is just to give you a layout of what the year would look like. Okay, so for your math and English, hopefully some of you have already done this placement process that was in the new student checklist. I'm putting a link in the chat right now, and this is a handy document that Amy created that just has links to everything that's on this particular PowerPoint. So it has links to the new international student checklist that Olivia mentioned earlier, and it also has a link to the orientation. So the orientation and placement portion, it's when you happen upon this website or when you finish this on the checklist, it's 2 sections. So the online orientation is like a short video orientation that tells you a little bit about PCC's resources. You understand what it's like to be a PCC student. And once you complete this section, then you get into the placement process. And this part is mandatory and really helpful for us to understand where your level of English is or ESL is and where your level of math is. So when you go through the orientation, there's an English portion and a math portion. And this should take you 5 to 10 minutes, very short. There's only 2 to 3 questions for math and 2 to 3 questions for English. This is not a test by any means. This is just a survey that asks you like how comfortable you are with this amount of English, how comfortable you are with this type of math. And that helps us determine where you will get placed, because that tells you how much fluency you have in English or the highest level of math that you've taken, basically. So this should take no more than 5 minutes, maybe, but yeah, it's just 2 to 3 questions, very simple. And then you have to make sure to press save and continue, because the students that haven't pressed save and continue and they're like, Miss, I'm sure I've done the placement results. I'll take a look, and sure enough, they didn't finish it because they didn't click save and continue. So make sure to click save and continue so that it reports back to us, your counselors, what your math and English placement are. Okay, so you'll just click the math placement here to take the math one, and then click save and continue, and then the English and ESL one. Okay, and that will tell you the level of course you should start at for math and English. So for our English and ESL, if you are very comfortable with English, or maybe you've taken an English class in your high school, or basically you say on the English placement that you feel very, very comfortable, you could get placed at English 1A, which is our college level English course. And if you feel comfortable enough to take English 1A, then you can register for it. But just know that this English course is what our domestic students, so our students who grew up speaking English, this is the first English class that they take. They will take because they have fluency in English. So I would just recommend, you know yourself the best, and if you feel like maybe a college level English course isn't best for you, then that's okay. You can always go to ESL. But before I talk about ESL, I wanted to talk about this English 150 course. So some courses in English 1A you'll see are linked to a support English 150 course. So let's say you feel like pretty confident that your English level skills are at English 1A, but maybe you'd like some extra support. You can always register for a support course that's linked to this English 1A course. It's called English 150, and it's basically like an extra tutoring course that your professor teaches. And but I do like to let students know that this class is non-transferable, this English 150, and it is an additional 0.5 units that you would have to pay for. So, I just wanted to give you that information up front. So that's English. For ESL, depending on your English familiarity and proficiency, we have different types of English second language courses. So level 1 is called English 402. Level 2 is called ESL 103. Level 3 is ESL 4, and level 4 is ESL 5. You'll see right here, this T designation, it says transferable. So if you're placed in ESL 402 or ESL 103, that just means that we want you to strengthen your English before we have you take a higher level of ESL or of English. So if you want to take any of these support courses, we would recommend them. So we have some courses for reading, speaking, pronunciation, and a couple of other supplemental classes. ESL 4 and 5 are transferable. So do keep that in mind, that if you do start at a little bit lower, then that class won't count towards transferable units if you plan on transferring at a later time. But this is our English and our ESL course sequencing. Oh, I forgot to say, this is a sequence, so it's a progression, right? Let's say if you get placed at a level 1, then you would have to take level 1, then level 2, then level 3, then level 4, then English. But let's say you get placed at level 4, then you just take level 4, and then you'll go into English. Okay, let's talk about math now. Math is split into this green area and this blue area. So our green math is considered, for short, we call it SLAM. SLAM is statistics and liberal arts math. So a lot of students who are interested in nursing, who are interested in communication studies, global studies, product design, studio art history, or any of our health sciences, you would likely be taking one of these maths. Business is the only, because I know that a couple of students listed business and accounting as their major. So keep this in mind, that business math is dependent on what schools you want to transfer to. So if you're considering a Cal State University, and I'll talk about what a Cal State University is in a little bit, you will likely be taking this math. So business calculus, basically. And then if you're considering the UCs, like maybe UC Irvine or UC Berkeley, you would be taking this math. So business is the one where the math is dependent on the school you want to transfer to. So let me just continue in this blue area. This is STEM math, and the STEM math is science, technology, engineering, and math students, plus also some business students. So if you are going to be a CS major, I also saw some engineering in here as well. Computer science, IT, you will likely be taking the STEM math, and the placement is dependent on your familiarity with math again. So let's say you get placed in Math 3. And let's say for your transfer university, you have to eventually get to Math 5A. That means you have to take Math 3 first, which is college algebra, Math 8, which is pre-calculus trigonometry, and then single variable calculus. So you do have to move along these sequences because they're considered prerequisites. But again, math is very dependent on where you'd like to transfer to. So it's definitely a conversation that you will have with a counselor. Okay, so after you've done your placement that we talked about here, you can find your results either back onto the orientation module, or there's another way to find it too, because once you click save and continue, it actually routes, the information routes itself onto Lancer Point. Lancer Point is what you'll use virtually for everything every semester at PCC. It's how you check your registration date, how you register for your courses, how you pay for your courses, how to pay for a parking permit. So everything is done on Lancer Point. It's like your big PCC portal, essentially. But how you check your math and English placement is you go onto your Lancer Point account. There will be a specific card that shows you view placement results, and then you click on the button and it'll populate your placement results if you for some reason aren't able to get into the orientation module again. But either way, both will show you how to get to your placement. Okay, so our course numbering system. For courses that are listed 1 through 99, I say almost all of these are transferable because there is an exception. So, and I'll show you how to look for it in the schedule of classes in a little bit. But for example, ESL 4, because it's the designated course title is called ESL 004, 004 is in between 1 and 99. This will transfer to UC and CSU universities. Now, when I say there's an exception, I'll use this very common example. Let's go back to math. Math 8. It says it's transferable. It has that little T designation, right? But it is only CSU transferable. Again, I'll go into the different types of transfer universities in a little bit, but Math 8 is only transferable to a Cal State. And if you were considering going to a UC, it is not transferable. So if you end up taking this class just because, let's say you have to take it because you are placed in it, then just know that these 4 units that you take will not count towards your units for transfer. But that's kind of rare. Most 1 through 99 are transferable. Now, courses that are 100 and above, those for sure are not transferable. So like I said earlier, ESL 103 or 402, because they're 100 and above, they are not transferable to the CSU and UC system. We generally have students take 100 course level 100 and over if you plan on getting like a PCC degree, like a nursing degree. Okay, so I wanted to talk a bit about prerequisites and co-requisites, because on the schedule of classes, you'll see this phrase or this word every time you see a class. A prerequisite is a required class that must be met before enrolling into the next class. Meaning, if you wanted to take Chem 1B, you have to take Chem 1A first. So it's a requirement that you have to meet before you take the next class, either in the sequence or just a future class that requires knowledge of this previous class. A co-requisite is a course that you have to take during the same term with another course. So you'll see this one a little less, but there are some specific courses that you have to take together. And it'll clearly state that. So it'll say co-requisite architecture 10A has to be taken with architecture 12A, meaning you have to register for both of these courses together. You cannot take one without the other because the content complements each other. So this is how the way the faculty arranged the classes. So you have to take these courses together. Again, a little bit more rare, but sometimes you'll see it. So we have a couple of academic options at PCC, and the end goal would either be to graduate or to transfer. Transferring to a UC, CSU, or private university. So I mentioned a little bit earlier about the UC system and the CSU system. The UC system, that's an acronym for University of California. There are 9 UCs in the state of California that allow bachelor's transfer. So the common UCs that you might have heard of are UCLA, UC San Diego, UC Berkeley, UC Irvine, UC Riverside, and then a few more. The CSU system is a little bit bigger. They have 23 campuses in the state of California. They're the CSUs, the Cal State universities that are around the area that a lot of our students transfer to are Cal State Fullerton, Cal State LA, Cal State Northridge, Cal Poly Pomona, San Diego State University, just to name a few. So those are the 2 public systems in our state. So tuition will be a little bit cheaper than going to a private university, but these are kind of amongst our most popular ones. But then there are also many, many private universities in the state of California and also in other states. Very popular ones that students transfer to are University of Southern California, USC for short, University of Laverne, Chapman University, Columbia, which is an Ivy League, Stanford, which is in NorCal. So we send students to a lot of these different universities across the state or across the US. Now, there are different types of goals. Students can get an associate's degree at PCC. We have two types of associate's degree, an associate for art and associate for science. You don't have to get bogged down by a lot of the technicalities, but basically an associate of arts, the courses are just a little bit more general, and the associate of science, the courses are just a bit more specific. For example, you could get a business degree or an AS in natural sciences. We also have career technical education. So a good example of that is, these are kind of like our more hands-on courses, and we do give degrees in these areas like welding, like jewelry making, like nursing, dental hygiene. And that's because we have facilities that allow you to like work with your hands, you know, for like nursing skills and things like that. So that's why it's called career technical education. We also have transfer and associate's degrees. So you could also transfer with a social and behavioral sciences degree, and also a transfer psychology degree. We do have a number of transfer degrees, and how you know it's a transfer degree is if it has a -T next to the degree. So I know right here I said Associate of Art, Associate of Science. These are not transferable degrees. So it's likely that in some of these degrees, you'll probably have to take 100 level classes, right? Because I said 100 level is non-transferable. But for all of these classes, 100% of the courses must be 1 through 99. So an Associate of Art for transfer or an Associate of Science for transfer. And these particular degrees are most beneficial for transferring to a CSU, just because there are some benefits that you would get when you apply to a CSU and finish this degree. So when you transfer to a university and graduate from PCC, the breakdown looks a little bit like this. It's not exactly perfect into like 50%, 25, and 25, but just know that this pie that we wanted to illustrate to you comprised of 60 units. So keep in mind, if you're thinking about transferring, if you're thinking about getting any degree at PCC, whether it's a transferable or non-transferable degree, the magic number is 60 units in order to transfer and or get a degree. Now, where will those 60 units come from? They will come from a majority of your general education. We'll go through the general education in a little bit, and actually you have a link to the general education sheet in the document that was sent to you. You just have to download the link, and it's under IGETC, GE list, IGETC, IGETC, and it's just a list of general education courses that you have to fulfill for a degree or for transfer. Now, another set of courses that you'll have to fulfill for transfer and or graduation is major requirements. So your major requirements, let's say if you're a business major, your major courses will look like accounting, econ, business law, statistics, calculus. So those are probably the classes you're more interested in taking, you know, because they line up most with your future career path. And elective units are optional depending on if these two requirements make up 60. If these two requirements, so GE and major, do not make up 60, then you can fill up the remaining of your 60 units with elective credit. Elective credit just means that you're just taking a class that you like to take, but it doesn't fulfill any specific requirements. You're just doing it for units. Let's say you just wanted to take a fun architecture course or a sociology course, but you are a CS major, and it has nothing to do with your desired degree. That's completely fine because we need you to get to that 60 units. Now, the 60 units is for public universities. Some private schools may ask for less than 60. For example, University of Southern California only asks for 30 before you transfer. So just keep that in mind. We, when a counselor makes an education plan with you, we kind of balance out everything based off your desired university. Now we're gonna take a moment to watch this video about how to look at the schedule of classes.
To get started, head over to your AnswerPoint homepage. Click on My Classes in Academics on the navigation list, then select Schedule of Classes. On this page, you'll be able to select which term you want to view classes for. Make sure you're looking at the most current year of term. Classes can be found by selecting various criteria, such as subject, instructor, and meet time. For this demonstration, we're going to look for math classes that meet during the week. Click on the search button to get started. The results on the next page can be a little overwhelming, so we'll break it down for you. The first thing we'll see for each course is the title, followed by the course prerequisites, if any are required. Prerequisites are courses that need to be completed before a student may enroll in this course. A brief course description appears next, concluding with total hours of lecture. It is followed by transfer credit status, which indicates whether UC or Cal State schools will give credit for completing this course. The course grade mode indicates what type of grading system is used for credit courses. In many courses, you will receive a letter grade, but there may be an option for a course audit or a pass, no pass grade. The status box indicates whether the course is open, closed, or waitlisted. Students who enroll in a waitlisted course will receive an ad code via email if a space becomes available in that class. The boxes for type and meet indicate what type of instruction this class uses. This may be an online course, an in-person lecture class, lab, or some other form of instruction with an online component. Click on either type or meet, and a window will pop up with a list of scheduled type codes and descriptions. The course reference number, or CRN, is the number you will use to add the course as you create your schedule. Make a note of this number exactly as it appears. Click on CRN to find important deadlines for the class, like the last day to drop without a W or get reimbursed for financial aid. The unit box indicates how many hours of instruction the course meets for weekly. Those with higher unit numbers will generally be larger course loads that require more hours of study time. The meeting time indicates when instruction is held. Confirm that the days and times match your availability before adding each course. If you miss too many class meetings, your instructor may drop you from the class for non-attendance. Some courses do not have a meeting time listed. Instead, you'll see an estimated weekly workload to help you plan your time accordingly. This is an asynchronous course, which we'll talk more about in a few moments. The location box tells you where the class will meet. You might see a building and room number for classes that meet in person on PCC's main campus or one of PCC's satellite campuses, but most classes at this time are being held online. If the location says online Zoom, this is a course that we refer to as synchronous, which means the instructor will conduct this class at the time listed, and students will meet virtually together on Zoom. If the location simply says online, then there is no designated meeting time. We refer to this as asynchronous. If you enroll in an asynchronous course, you'll get more information about accessing lecture recordings and other materials when you get started. Generally, you can still interact with instructors and classmates on Canvas, but this course will not have mandatory meeting times that conflict with other classes. The next three boxes are labeled CAP, ACT, and REM. The first indicates the course capacity, or how many students can enroll in the course. The second shows you how many positions are already filled, and the last one shows you how many seats are remaining. The instructor section shows you who will be teaching this course. The date box indicates what date the course starts and ends, and the weeks box indicates the course duration. Many courses run 16 weeks during the main semester, but there are 8-week courses referred to as first session and second session, and there are other variations as well, so be sure to check this box to confirm the course duration. One last thing, don't forget to check the footnotes for additional information. The footnotes might list restrictions, like courses that are specific to certain programs. Some math or statistics courses may list a support component in the footnotes as well. When enrolling in these courses, make sure you match the CRN of the course with the corresponding CRN of the support component as it appears in the schedule of classes. You are now ready to add courses using the CRNs that you've selected.
Okay, I'm hoping that that video was a nice tutorial, you know, showing you step by step. Definitely refer to the link that Olivia put in the chat if you'd like to review it. Again, it's in the document as well, the PDF that I just put in the chat again, in case you need to review any of these links to learn how to research the courses that you want to take. But to give you a little overview, again, if the video went a little too quick, prerequisite, we talked about this, right? It's a course that you need to take before as a requirement in order to take the desired course. So just make sure to take a look at that to see if you meet the prerequisite requirement. The transfer credit here shows you if it's a CSU transferable or a UC transferable course. The footnote here tells you that there's a restriction. You have to enroll into this English 150 course if you want this specific English course 70428. So the footnotes are going to be really important because you might have a restriction and you're not sure why. So basically, for this specific class, you need to enroll in 70428 and as well as 6800. The location is the building that it's located at. So building C on the second floor, room 261. And then this also shows the duration of the classes. So make sure to check this as well because some of our classes are 16 weeks. Most of them are 16, but some of them are also 8. So make sure to look at the specific start and end date. The modalities again. Now think about the amount of courses that, or the amount of units that you need as an F1 student, right? We said 9 units in person or hybrid that have an in-person component, and then the remainder can be whatever you want. So 3 online, in person, what have you. So you know that it's in person if it has a room location. If it's a scheduled Zoom class, then that means that it's completely online. But it's still considered online, but it's a live interaction because you still have to be on Zoom at the designated time and date. If it's completely online, it's online asynchronous, meaning there isn't a live component where you would interact with your professor. You would be doing this class over Canvas. Canvas is our learning management system where you'll submit all of your assignments, but your professor will basically upload video lectures and you'll watch it kind of on your own time, but they'll tell you, hey, this assignment is due Monday. This reading is due Wednesday. There's a quiz due on Friday. So again, there isn't anything live, but you will have to follow the professor's instructions, but there is a little bit of flexibility for when you can study, when you can review the material. Okay, so if you feel like that suits your learning style, then you can take an asynchronous class. But if maybe you need a bit more accountability, you need to be in class in person to understand the material, then I would say look for those in-person classes. The important deadlines, again, it was reviewed in the video, so I won't get too into depth on this, but when you click on the CRN is that 5-digit number. CRN stands for course reference number. It's a hyperlink. So when you click on it, it'll show you this important information, like the last day to add the course, the last day to drop with the refund. I understand how much tuition is, so especially for a class that you're not going to be taking, I want to make sure that you get your refund back so that you should drop it in a timely manner. Also, just different drop deadlines, add deadlines. So all the CRNs have specific dates. It's all different for different classes. So you want to make sure you click on that specific CRN to understand those add and drop dates. Okay, so here is the Pathways program that I mentioned a little bit earlier in our presentation. This is a specific support program that we have for first-year students at our PCC campus. And this is for all first-year students, international, domestic. they really help students because they have a specific center designated for their services. So they have like a study area, a very big study area. They have like laptops you can rent out. They have printing services. They usually have a lot of snacks for free giveaways, you know? So those are some of the smaller benefits, but here's some of the bigger benefits is that priority registration, getting that like earlier registration date than you would if you weren't a part of this program. I know that's pretty important to a lot of students. Now, the requirements to get this priority registration is you need to attend JAM. JAM is a specific pathways orientation that you have to attend. Now, I know that there are 2 types of JAM. There will be an in-person JAM in February and also an online JAM in February. So whatever fits your schedule the best, sign up for that orientation. That's a requirement if you want that priority registration. Other requirements to stay in the Pathways program and maintain that priority registration are meeting with international counselors and success coaches. I'll explain what a success coach is in a little bit. Registering for that College 1 or Counseling 10 course that we also discussed, that introductory first year seminar course. And then you also need to complete your math and your English in your first year attending PCC. Oh, and here are our lovely international success coaches. So we have America and Kimberly. So as a potential pathway student, if you plan on being a pathway student, you will be assigned to either America or Kimberly as your success coach. So think of your success coach as a mentor who's already done college. They're currently doing a counseling master's right now. So they've already, gone through the college system. They know what it's like to be in your shoes. So if you ever have any questions about like, where do I find this specific service, or I need help with this tutoring, where is tutoring? I'm kind of struggling with this. They're kind of like your mentor, your resource as a first year student if ever you get lost or you have a tricky situation. Here's a breakdown of those 2 classes I was talking about that's mandatory to take, right? So the Counseling 10 is a 1-unit course. It's an introductory to college. So it tells you about PCC as a structure of higher education. They explain what our PCC resources are, and you also explore how to create an educational plan. So this one is appropriate for students who placed in ESL 402 or ESL 103. So that's ESL levels 1 and 2. And the College 1 is our first year seminar. So here you develop critical thinking skills. You learn how to do research because you will have to do a research project. There's a lot of collaboration because there's like a group projects. You'll learn about college resources and how to study at a U.S. institution. So this is appropriate if you've placed in ESL level 4, ESL 4, ESL 5, or English 1. And again, if you want that priority registration, you need to register for one of these 2 courses. A little bit about the Pathway Center. Oh yeah, I went through this a little bit ago. Yeah, free snacks, a place to hang out, a place to study. And this is where your pathways, your international success coaches will be located when you meet them in person. So this is just a fun, a cool, studious hangout area for our first year students. When you meet with an international student counselor for an educational plan, this is what we'll be doing to help you in that 45-minute appointment. So we will essentially be making a plan that helps you understand every course that you'll take in every semester that you'll be here in order to obtain that degree and or transfer goal. So basically, we'll plan it out for a year or 2 years, however long it takes for you to finish your goal, every specific class that you'll be taking. And including or excluding the winter or summers, depending on if you know if you'll be home during that time as well. So again, this is just use an example because some of these general education courses, you're not sure what they are, but we just wanted to give you a visual of what an educational plan will look like made by a counselor. We also wanted to share some first week tips as a new student. The beginning of the semester is very hectic, very chaotic. There will be a lot of students on our campus. It's a really fun time, you know, because a lot of our programs will be like intense outside and people will be directing you everywhere. But we do not want you to miss class, because if you miss class on the very first day, the professor does have the right to drop you from the class. Meaning, if, let's say you're enrolled in 12 units, you don't show up on time, you're having a lot of trouble finding parking, you missed the first class because you couldn't find parking. If your professor drops you, then you're below your units, right? So we need to maintain your status, those units. So if you plan on taking public transportation, we do have like a free bus system. But if you plan on driving a car, make sure to buy your parking permit on inside Lancer Point in your portal and arrive early. And when I say arrive early, you could arrive somewhere between like, I would say on the very first day, it is safe if you arrive maybe like 2 hours early, 1.5 hours, because even if you arrive on the first hour, you could be kind of circling the parking structure for a little bit. Again, it's up to you, but you could come early, explore the PCC campus, even get coffee on the very first day. I just don't want you to get dropped on the very first day just for not finding any parking. There are also some used and rental book services. You don't have to buy all of your course books through our PCC bookstore. You could do your due diligence and research a little bit on HAF, Amazon, Chegg, where you could potentially find a discounted a book for half price or used, discounted. So make sure to do your research, but if in any case, you could always find your required textbooks at the PCC bookstore. The waitlist policy. So if you are not able to register for your 12 units, let's say you waitlisted for one class, that's 3 units, and you're waitlisted, let's say you're waitlisted number 1, which means if one student drops the class a couple of days before, then you move up on that list and you get a spot onto that course. But you have to be checking your email every day, because a professor will notify you and let you know, hey, you moved up on, or I'm sorry, admissions, you will get a notification where you will be notified that there's a spot open and it's only limited for, I believe it's like 48 hours. That's why it's so important to check your email every day, especially if you're on that wait list. So basically what happens is you move up on the wait list, you get an ad code, and the ad code allows you to register for the course. If you do not get an ad code before the class starts, because let's say no one dropped out from the course, then still show up on the very first day, because like I said, any student that doesn't show up on the first day of class when the professor's doing roll call, he or she is going to drop them, and then that that spot could potentially be yours, especially if you're on the wait list already. The professors usually do add students on the wait list priority first. So still make sure to show up to class on the very first day. Crashing courses. So this is for students who weren't able to even obtain a waitlist spot because it filled up really quick. But basically, you're just showing up to the course, hoping that someone didn't show up for the class and none of the wait lists showed up for the class, and then hoping that the professor will give you an ad code. This is very risky. So I would recommend enrolling in your 12 units of courses first, and then this could be like a backup option just in case, right? We want to make sure you're in those 12 units first before you make like any drastic changes. But crashing course is kind of like, and it's still an option, but it is a very risky option. You could always look up the professor's emails on the PCC directory. And this generally happens like before the first day of school. If the professor is willing to, have some space and give you an ad code, then you would just need to email the professor, and then they'll give you an ad code generally if they have space. This is specifically for trying to crash a course that's online, because there's no location if it's an online class. So this is how you would contact a professor for an ad code that's an online class. And then please make sure to silence your phones on the very first day, so it's not a distraction to yourself and to others while you're in school. So Lancer Point and schedule of classes, and also registration. So like I said earlier, Lancer Point is going to be your go-to for everything at PCC, right? How to pay your fees, how to register, when to look at your registration date. And you'll find it on the very first, on the webpage of pasadena.edu under login. That login will be right here. So that's what Lancer Point is. Online courses. So all your courses will be have a specific course card in Canvas. So if you're taking 4 courses this spring semester in Canvas, you'll see 4 different course cards, and that's how you'll submit all of your assignments. That's how you'll participate in discussion. That's how you'll message your professor in that course. But and this is for all courses, whether it's in person or online. But if it's an online course, this is where you'll get all of your information, because you don't have a face-to-face interaction with your professor. So make sure to check Canvas. And then your online Zoom. The professor will give you some a Zoom link before the first day of course, letting you know that the expectation is that we'll meet on Zoom, and they'll also let you know if they require any like live webcam during their class or during exams. So they'll set those expectations. So just kind of know what you're setting yourself up for if you are taking any online classes. And don't forget, you'll want to check your PCC email and your Canvas inbox frequently. I would say daily. Make sure to check that information or your inbox, because this is how PCC is going to contact you. And once you're a student with us, like, we'll no longer email your personal email accounts. We're going to contact you through your PCC email accounts. So this is a sample of a class schedule for the spring. Based on the requirements for pathways and for math and English, that's kind of why we created this, right? So let's say you're a student that placed in ESL 4. It would be a good idea to take ESL 4 this semester. And let's say you did a little bit of research and you're like, oh, this is the class that I want to take. It fits my schedule, Monday, Wednesdays. And then I'll build my plan around my ESL. Now, I know I want to be a pathway student because I want priority registration. Because I placed in ESL 4, my appropriate level for the pathways required course is College 1. And I see a College 1 course that is Tuesdays and Thursdays that fits my schedule, and it's 3 units. Now, I'm a psychology major, so I wanted to take Psychology 1. There is an in-person class on Friday that's 3 units, and that fits my schedule. So basically, I'd be going to class once a week, every day, and it kind of balances that out. And then my last course could be a math course or just any type of general education course. And because I met my in-person units by taking 433, that's 10 units, I can take an online class. So this one is, make sure to build your course schedule off of those in-person units first, so that you could see if you can take anything online or not. Let's continue. Okay, here's a quick video about how to add a class using your CRN, the course reference number.
How to add courses using CRNs. Once you've selected the courses you want, you will add them using course reference numbers, or CRN. Start from the LancerPoint homepage. Click on My Classes in Academics, then click on Add/Drop Classes. Select the registration term on the next page, then click on Submit. You may be prompted to complete the pre-registration survey for this term if you have not done so already. Click on the link to complete the survey. Once you've completed the survey, click on Submit. On the next page, enter your selected CRNs into the boxes at the bottom of the screen. Be sure to add them exactly as they appear in the schedule of classes. Once you've added all CRNs, click on Submit Changes. If there are no holds or other validation issues, this will add the course to your schedule. Return to the My Classes in Academics page and select View/Print My Class Schedule to confirm you've successfully added the courses you need.
Okay. Okay. So here, after you choose specific courses that you want and register for those courses, here are just some next steps. And a lot of these next steps are actually listed in this document that I'm going to put again. And it's also a part of that new international student checklist. So there's a lot of overlap. We just wanted to repeat it multiple times just to make sure that you are checking off everything that you need to do before you come to the US, and also by the time you come to the US, what are the other things that you need to do? So just to review, you need to complete the new international student checklist. The link is listed in the document that I just put in the chat. You need to attend online orientation if you have not done so yet. And the orientation, you will do the orientation portion, which is just like some videos, and then the placement. The placement is very important for your math and your English to understand what courses you need to take. And that link is also in the PDF document. It is mandatory to attend International Student Welcome. This will happen on February the 7th, 2024. The location will be in Creveling Lounge at PCC from 8:30 to 4 p.m. So please make sure that you're checking all the emails that the International Student Center has been sending you, because this date has been listed on all those emails and will be listed in those future emails. We need to make sure that you are there, present and there. So arriving in the US before the 7th. And then Olivia put in the chat, your parents or your guardians are also welcome to join. There's usually a little session for them too. Sign up for JAM. So again, if you want that earlier registration, if you want to be a part of Pathways and get all those cool supports that we have here at PCC, you have to attend an in-person or an online JAM. That's just an orientation for Pathways. There is an online JAM and then an in-person one. So you get to sign up for whichever one you want. And once you sign up for that, we will be able to change your registration date. So you have that earlier registration date coming up. Now, that registration date will be November 28th or 29th if you sign up for JAM. If you do not sign up for JAM and do not want to be a part of the Pathways program, that's completely fine. But just know that your registration date will be November 30th or December 1st. The specific time that you register varies, so you have to look at Lancer Point. It'll say something like November 30th, 12:15 p.m. So the time is also really important for when you can register. Pay for your classes no later than the payment deadline. So this is really important to stress. Try your best to pay for your courses at the time that you register, because then you won't forget about paying for your classes, right? Or you won't forget about potentially getting dropped later. But if you cannot do that, that's fine. The deadline will be February 15th, and that there's no exception to that. So if you do not pay for your classes by the 15th, you will get dropped from your courses. And that'll be stressful, you know, because we'll have to scramble to put you in courses, and when you've already had 3 months of registering for the exact course and the exact time that you want. So we just want to stress that this is so important, February 15th. Buy your books or borrow your books from PCC online or through Amazon or through an online service. To buy a parking permit, you could either do so on campus or do it on Lancer Point with a credit card. And then you can get your PCC ID at the Pathway Center. So you'll be able to do that if you're here for JAM, because you'll be on campus, or when you're here for International Student Welcome. And we have, I think, one last video that we wanted to show you. Scheduling a counseling appointment. Let's see. Give me one moment. It's just not showing up here.
So while Stephanie is searching for the video, there were a few things that I wanted to mention in the chat that we've provided. Stephanie submitted or sent to all of you the links to today's presentation, so that will be emailed to you along with a copy of this recording, so you can check your emails. Probably in a few hours you should be receiving them. Also, the other important thing that I will post is our community. Please join community, because there you will meet other PCCs, other new PCC students if you need to find roommates for your apartments, if you plan to rent an apartment. But we also post important information, reminders in preparation for your arrival. So it's a good opportunity for you to meet other students and to connect with us too. You also connect with some of our student ambassadors who work in our office. And finally, very important, we've included the new student checklist link to everyone if you need to, or you are interested in signing up. Oh, and Stephanie, if you don't mind talking about the zero textbook options that are available through the college.
Yeah. I'll do that in a little bit. Yeah. So sorry about that. I think my laptop's a little laggy right now, but this is, I wanted to do one last video about how you can schedule an appointment with an academic counselor, any of the 6 of us. So here's some information on that. And then we'll discuss zero cost textbook.
How to schedule an appointment with an academic counselor. Do you need to work on your education plan? Need help planning for your transfer? You can schedule an appointment with an international academic counselor at any time. Here is how to do it. Head to PCC's website at exadena.edu and click on Login. Click on PCC Connect. Enter your login password. This is the same.
Stephanie, I don't know if it's my computer. I couldn't hear it.
On the PCC,
Could you
Olivia,
hear?
can you hear?
click on this.
I couldn't
It
hear.
is very hard. It is very hard to hear. I can go ahead and post the link to the video as well in the chat box.
Okay, sorry about that, everyone. But let's just segue into how to look for zero cost textbooks. So when you are on the PCC website, I just kind of want to give a quick tutorial. Here is where you'll log into everything. So Lancer Point is how you register for your courses. Canvas is how you interact with your professors. And then PCC Connect, I wish the video populated or the audio was better, but this is how you register, or I'm sorry, make an appointment with a counselor. So when you want to look for your courses, if you review some of the videos in this PowerPoint, you'll find that the schedule of classes is under Academics and Support, Schedule of Classes. Now, what you'll want to look for is courses in spring 2024. It already populates, it auto-populates under spring 2024. Just make sure you're not clicking under any other term type. Here, let's look for an English course. If there is a designation, again, if there is a little like text, I know it's very, very tiny, where it says zero textbook cost option, that means that this specific class, 30435, does not require you to buy any materials, and the professors will provide all the materials for the course. That is why it's called a zero textbook cost option. So I know that the fees for books are already pretty expensive. So if you can try to get yourself into a class that is zero textbook cost, that would be great, because then all of the course materials, the PDFs, would be provided by your professor. Okay. We are on the last slide of our presentation. This is where we'll talk about any questions that you all had. I'm not sure if there was anything in the chat that was going on while I was presenting, but here is your time to unmute yourself or type your question in the chat so that we can answer your question right now.
Stephanie, do you want to cover Assist or iGetsy?
Do we have time for that?
We have a little bit of time so that they
Okay.
know what classes they could choose from.
Okay, so iGetsy. Let me share my screen again. So iGetsy, the link is in the chat for the PDF again. It's that third item on the list. So let me increase this size. So this is the transfer curriculum for CSUs and UCs. Just know that iGetsy doesn't need to be fully complete unless a specific college requires it. Now, if you look at each section, it is broken down into specific courses. Like Area 1 will be your English course. So my recommendation would be English 1A or that ESL course that you have. Eventually, you'll take a critical thinking course. The math, again, is designated by your math placement. In Area 3, here are some arts and humanities courses that you could take at PCC. So there are some arts courses, some humanities courses. Some of my recommendations would be to take a cinema course, maybe a music course, maybe a history course. Those are kind of the popular ones here that we have at PCC. In Area 4, this is social and behavioral sciences. If you're a business major, I would recommend to take Econ 1A. You can also take, history is also listed here, political science, psychology, and sociology. Area 5 there are some physical and biological sciences course. So if you plan to finish IGETSI, you would need to take a physical science course, a biological science course, and then a course with a lab. Only one of these areas requires a course with a lab. So let's say if you take the physical science without a lab, then you will need to take a biological science with a lab. If you are a CS major, you won't have to worry too much about the type of science that you'll take because you'll probably have to take our whole physics series. Okay, so keep that in mind. It'll be physics for you. Area 6 is a UC requirement. It's called language other than in English. A lot of our international students already have this requirement complete when they, because we take a look at your grade 6 through 12th. So I would say just meet with a counselor to see if you satisfy this requirement using some type of language other than in English that you did in your middle school or high school. And then area 7 is an ethnic studies course. So it's just one course in this area. The instructions are kind of small, but you'll be able to see what the requirements are per school. So these are the general education courses that you would need as part of your 60. Now, if you're planning on transferring to a public university like a CSU or a UC, Assist is what we use to look at your classes. So assist.org is a public website, so you're able to use it to kind of look at what courses you may need. For the institution, you'll type in Pasadena City College because that's the college you are currently attending. Let's say you want to go to UCLA. So this is where you would type in the specific transfer university you're interested in attending. You click View Agreements. And let's say your major is business. So you would type in your major, you would click on this agreement, and then it would show you all the classes that are required. So this is where it's really good to make sure you meet with a counselor because some classes are just recommended and some classes are required. But if you look at the list of classes, you should get a good sense of what classes you may need to take. Everything on the right side is a PCC course. Everything on the left side is the equivalent at the college that you plan to attend. For example, UCLA requires Econ 1A and Econ 1B, and that's equivalent to their Econ 1 and 2, so you will have that done before you transfer. They also want some accounting courses, some calculus courses, and then a second English class, so you don't have to worry about that English until we get to until we finish your English 1B, or I'm sorry, your 1A. But this is how you would look for some courses to take. We already know that you need an English, you need a math, potentially college one if you want pathways, and then a general education or a major course. So those are kind of the ways that you're going to research at this time to see what courses you're interested in taking for your first semester courses. Again, anywhere from 12 to 15 is good for a first semester or a first year college student.
Stephanie, I also wanted to mention that I put in the chat box the recommended classes for new students that I believe Amy had created a while back. And these are classes that are recommended for students who have no college experience. And so it kind of follows some of the information that you mentioned in the IGETSI. There are two additional questions here in the chat box. One from Palm, who's asking, what is the difference between the Associate of Science and the Associate of Science and Transfer degree? If I apply for the AS, Associate of Science, does it mean that I cannot transfer or is not transferable? And do law major students need to study math classes?
So you would need to take at least one math course to get a degree, but then we just need to take a look at the transfer requirements. It's just usually one math course. You may have to take an upper division math course, and that's done at your bachelor's degree. You can get an AS and still transfer. You can get an AST and still transfer. So The AA and the AS doesn't preclude you from transferring, but some students, their end goal is not to transfer. So they will do an AA and an AS and graduate and then go back to their home country. So if you want to transfer, you don't need to get a degree, or you can get a degree, and either of those degrees can be the AS or the AA or the AST or the AAT. Let's see.
There's another question from Jeremy. He's asking, how fast do classes usually get filled up after registration starts? For example, he's a computer science major.
Okay.
And he has booked an appointment with a counselor, but that appointment is not going to be until the 30th of November.
Okay, so if you are going to be a part of the Pathways program, then you would get an earlier registration date. So I would recommend the English course, a math course. Try to get into CS2. That one could fill up. It just depends. We don't know how many new students are going to be here, not including international students. So it really just depends. But keep an eye on the schedule of classes to see if your desired section is filling up and if there are any other sections that you could take. But you can always take CS2 in the following semester. If you aren't able to get into either of those into CS2, you could just take like 2 general education courses, anything that interests you based off IGETC.
And again, I want to reference to the recommended classes for new international students who have no college experience. So Stephanie, you mentioned the recommendation of taking an English or ESL class, a math class, and for many students who plan to participate in Pathways, there's also the College One class that is recommended. And additional classes within the general education pattern. We highly recommend for all students who are viewing this group counseling session that you get the highest priority registration that you possibly can. In order to get the highest priority registration or the earliest priority registration, signing up for JAM or participating in Pathways is one way. Signing up for JAM and participating in Pathways will allow you actually one of the earliest registration. I believe it's probably registered the 3rd day or the 4th day of when registration opens up. International students, all of you, if you already have completed the online orientation, which is part of new student checklist, and also have completed the placement, which is part of online orientation, you should be getting also an early priority registration date, which is usually after Pathways students. So if you want to guarantee the best times and the best classes that you wish, I highly recommend that you please get the earliest priority registration that you possibly can. I think there's another question too from Vincent. Vincent is asking a sample for architecture students during their first semester. Like, what classes would you recommend for an architecture student?
Sorry, I'm pulling
know
up
if-
the.
I think we're also out of time as well.
Vincent, I'm going to put something in the chat for you. So I would recommend those 2 architecture courses that are co-recs that I went through in the PowerPoint, so Architecture 10A and 12A, and then an English and maybe a College One course.
I can share my screen and I can show you all the registration. Let me see. The recommended classes for students to register for if this is your if you have no college experience, right? These were some classes that were recommended by our counselor Amy. I believe Amy, if this is still correct. We have the English ESL and math and College One and general education classes. Is this correct, Amy? Would you still recommend these? Again, this is more for recommendation for students who have no college, no US or university experience. If you have any university or college experience, I highly recommend that you do schedule an appointment to meet either with Stephanie or Amy, um, because that may affect your class or course selection. I think we also have another question, and I think we have time for maybe one additional question because time's almost up, right? We have one additional question from one of our students, Tar. Can we get transferable credit to UCLA for math and English units that they complete for JAM? I believe maybe your question is related to if you participate in JAM, do you get transferable credit to UCLA?
No,
Or
I'm not sure what that question refers to, but the requirement for pathways is that the English and the math must be done in the first year. So it's a requirement that must be done in any case for transfer to UCLA, but it just doesn't you're also meeting those pathways requirements of having math and English done during your first year.
yeah, and I believe just so everyone knows, all community colleges are cousins to the University of California and California State Universities, and we're an accredited institution. That means that every majority, if not all, of the classes are transferable, especially for English and math. There are some exceptions, but most, if not majority of all classes are transferable to UC, Cal State, as well as to private universities. And so I think that hopefully may answer some of your questions. I think we are out of time. There's one more question, general question about Lancer Point from Alex Scherer. I don't know. I think Lancer Point is just our student portal. That's where everything is done, like Stephanie mentioned. So if you need to access Lancer Point, I'll put it in the chat box. And in there, you will register for classes. In there, you will pay for your classes. In there, you can check your class schedule. You can access some of the major links as well that you will use in the future as a student. Okay. I believe our time is up. And there are some additional questions related to recommendation for global studies major, or if you have additional questions related to your major, we highly recommend that you schedule an appointment to meet with a counselor. Again, for most of our students here today who have no university or college experience, you can use the recommended classes that Amy has posted on our website. For students who have university or college level experience, we highly recommend that you schedule an appointment to meet with one. Or if you have other additional questions, you can still schedule an appointment to meet with a counselor. Amy and Stephanie, do you have any final words or any words of encouragement or things for students to remember?
I would encourage students to go back to the checklist and just make sure you follow the steps and not to wait to do things the last minute. Because if you have an earlier registration date, let's say your registration date is December 1st, that's the earliest you can register. So make sure you take advantage of it, because that's a privilege you have as an international student to be able to register earlier. So make sure you take advantage of things. So make sure you also download the document that we share in the chat. We share many times because it has all the links that we provided during this session, so that you can always go back and watch it again, and watch the video again if you need to. And for those of you who came in late, you are more than welcome to attend again tomorrow. It's the exact same session, but it will be, you'll listen to it one more time.
Stephanie, any parting words or any final words?
I know that we gave you so much information today. And I know it's inundating, but please do not be scared. If we will always be able to double check your work. So if you register for your classes and you're just like, I'm not sure if that was correct, go ahead and just register for at least 12 units so that we know that you're meeting the F1 unit requirements. Book an appointment with a counselor, and Amy and I or our other colleagues will be able to check and say, you know, this looks good, great job, or here's what we would recommend, and let's look for some courses that are available. So I know that a lot of this information was new, but we are here to help you. So I know it's just probably from an online platform until you get to the States. So we are available to you.
And we can't wait to meet you in person when you arrive. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Please stay in touch.
Thank you very much. Have a good
Bye, everyone.
Have a good evening. Have a good morning. Bye. So I'm putting folks in the waiting room. Let's see. I think we got most people. And Marjorie, if you're still in the room, I will send you an email regarding your question. Let's see. I think. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Cool. Great job.
Ooh.
Thanks. I think I got everyone. I put everyone in the waiting room.
Stop the
Thank you,
recording.
guys.